My name is Bhaskar Goswami. I'm the founder of an organization called Dana. Dana is an ancient Sanskrit word which means practicing generosity. So, for the last 3 years, I've been involved in this project based on practicing generosity. I've learned a fair bit about generosity along the way. As the saying goes, what you practice, you tend to become good at. And I've met some amazingly inspiring mentors, and through my own life experience, learned a few things that have been of profound value to me, and I trust that they may be of value to you as well. So, I wanted to start by unpacking this expression, practicing generosity, and what it's come to mean for me. I'm beginning to realize that the practice of generosity is simply a practice of noticing what's already there. All those things that are just given to us for pure enjoyment and to serve us if we just stop to notice. For so much of my life, since childhood really, like many people, I've been taught to seek and strive for things that are not there. But this profound shift is taking place from seeking to appreciating. And as the saying goes, what you appreciate appreciates. And I'm beginning to see so many things that are just there. So many different forms of wealth, of which money is just one of them. There's also other forms like people's skills or their knowledge or people's time, attention, or their cultural heritage or the nature, other kinds of wealth. And if I just slowed down to notice, I realized there's just so much there to work with and play with. And as a consequence of noticing generosity, there's a very wonderful side effect, which is gratefulness. So whenever we feel grateful, we're usually bending back on an experience of generosity. So imagine coming into a workplace where every part of the organization feels grateful to be there. That's a consequence of noticing generosity. So as we start to notice that everything has value, even every situation, those unpleasant ones where unwanted things happen, business contracts that fall through, or projects that fail, or miscommunications, even they have value as long as we have the eyes to notice what the lesson was in those experiences. And so much so for people. We're all built in such a unique way, unique as our DNA, our skills and talents and attributes and knacks. It's just there. And it falls upon us as a privilege and responsibility to cultivate those skills, become better and better at it so they can serve in a more meaningful way. Very much like a violin player who's getting better and better at playing the violin until the player becomes a master. Now, although they've become very skillful, they've also become very divergent because unless they've practiced, they will not be so good at the drums or the piano. So they've become a very skillful, divergent part, and noticing the value in that. For example, over the last 2 decades, I have been developing the skill of being a catalyst for optimum health and performance. This is what I've become really good at. This is my divergent, skillful part. Now, I've noticed that as I use this knack that I've developed to be of benefit to people, to serve people, it's deeply enriching. It's built into our human condition to feel good when we can use our gifts to help others. So, it's very much like a violin player. You can be there playing the violin by yourself, but once you belong to an orchestra, you become part of a much bigger picture. And becoming skillful at the violin contributes to the entire orchestra performing and creating beautiful music. So we all have an ability to share our gifts, and I would even say we all have a willingness to do it when the context is set, when the relationship is set, when it's stewarded in a way that allows for that to happen. So, as the divergent, skillful parts start to come together, it begins to form a network, a convergent whole, if you will. And every divergent part is in service of something much bigger, or every part of the orchestra, including the maestro, is in service of the beautiful music. And the beautiful music in this case would be the shared values, the shared narrative, the cultural context of what's arising that we've all sort of signed on to celebrate and serve. And in the beginning, if that is based around generosity, it's bound to be uncomfortable, awkward, because for so long, for so many decades, we've been trained in this mindset of scarcity and doubt and so on. It's been my experience that this requires really careful stewarding. in the right context, right environment really allow for people a safe space to practice generosity. Very much like planting a tree. When we plant the seed, in the beginning, it requires care. The seed is vulnerable, the offshoot is vulnerable. So we give it the right environment for it to grow. But once that becomes a tree, nobody looks after a tree. The tree grows by itself, and the tree creates other trees and becomes a full on forest. And it becomes regenerative. So, this is a way to create a system that is sustainable and generating and moving on by itself when we take care in the beginning to steward it properly. So, if we are able to tap into this field of regenerativity, this is like the holy grail for all organizations. In that field of many serving many, we create ecosystems that are thriving and expanding, creating this resonant effect that I sense will be very joyful and much needed in our times. So this is the potential, the possibility of creating an organization that's based on the practice of generosity. I want to invite you to consider the possibility of making the mission statement of your organization or of your family or even for yourself not so much a statement but more of a question. A question is very alive with possibilities. It has tremendous potential for depth and distance. And a question I feel that's worthy of asking is, how can this be more generous? To really look at the organization, every part of the organization, every living system in it, and ask, how can this be more generous in an almost obsessive way, and see what emerges from that. I trust they'll come with a lot of genius, boldness, and creativity that can resonate through the world and for generations. So, on behalf of all those who will benefit, thank you so much for listening, and please feel free to reach out to me with any questions, ideas, or comments. Thank you.